Hey guys, word to the wise. It's Friday. I got some time. I got the house to myself for a little bit, so I figured I might as well try to get this video put together. This is kind of a continuation from my last video, and I do want to do a little dive into Daniel 11 later because, as I've said in the past, like you can always go to Matthew 24 or Daniel 11, especially. It's just one of those that has a lot of things I feel that are for the tribulation timeline era. And you can kind of go through there. And if it's in that timepiece land area, maybe just see and read it over and over and over every couple of months just to see, is there something that jumps out that might say, like, are we possibly seeing this point now? And, and we're at that phase. The abomination that makes desolate is there, so it's one of those things Jesus warned about. So it's one of those things where you can kind of dial backward, because obviously we haven't seen that, but you can look at that and say, well, are we seeing these things happening? And what I want to kind of go into is still surrounding Revelation 13, where it speaks on, if anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword, with the sword must he be slain. Here is the call for the endurance and the faith of the saints. So I was listening to my audio Bible the other day, and I kind of, interestingly enough, I prayed that morning, and I finished the prayer, and I kind of just said, well, if there's anything you want me to see or understand a little bit on, just let me, just get it in front of me so that way I can see it. And I went to go to my pet's vet to get some special food for them. And leaving, I plugged in my phone to listen to my audio Bible. And I went to the Old Testament, and I went to Daniel 11 just so I could kind of just go over and just see if anything kind of just jumps out of the page for the timeline, because I was looking into it the other day, and I was like, wow, I wonder, I don't know the political scene, what's happening over there. I don't know who's being, part of the armies or the politics. And so I can't really sit there and say, like, oh, well, this person came in, he failed, now they put this other person in. Look at how it talks about the armies winning and losing, and people just disappearing off the map. So it's like, I don't know enough about that over there to be able to point at that, unfortunately. But as I was driving, all of a sudden I heard in the verses, it was talking about, I heard captive or captivity, and I heard them talking about a sword in the same sentence. I was like, what? I'm like, no, come on. So then I pulled over and I tried to make a video, and I put it together, and I can't upload it from my phone to YouTube because my phone is too old. It won't accept any more new updates. So I'm kind of like pushed off YouTube with my phone, so I can't upload directly from my phone anymore, which is fine. I'm not going to be, heartbroken. I have this tablet, and I can kind of manage with this totally fine. So Daniel 11, what I want to kind of look at is beyond the abomination that makes desolate. So that is verse 31. Forces from him shall appear and profane the temple and fortress, and they shall take away the regular burnt offering, and they shall set up the abomination that makes desolate. So this is happening after that. What I feel was happening in Revelations, I feel might be before the abomination. Only because I don't know what the abomination is in Revelation, because they don't speak of the abomination. The only thing I could picture would be close to the abomination would be in the second part of chapter 13, where it talks on the beast that comes out of the earth. And Apollyon comes out of the earth, and they set up the image, the number, the mark, all those things kind of come in that. So I can only imagine that that would be somewhat the abomination that makes desolate, because even the mark is not really spoken anywhere else in Scripture. So, but I just want to go over this because it's kind of interesting that it speaks on, as I spoke in that last video, I was kind of saying, well, people getting possibly taken captive, yes, thrown into camps, we've seen that, but if the devil's going to deceive and he doesn't understand the scriptures and he's trying to somehow twist them, whether he knows it or not, maybe he's deceiving the people by captivating them, and then they are being so captivated that they are doing kind of his bidding. If he says, oh, we need to fight against the evils and the tyrannies, and we can see, you know, the whole Doge project that's happening now, and the, you know, the DIE, you know, things that are all being questioned and being erased to gender scenarios. So there's a very big attack happening, and a lot of people are all very excited and happy for that, to go back to an old normal versus, you know, the whole new normal that they were talking about over the last 4 or 5 years since the last big bug problem happened. So here's 32, long story short here, let me just get into it. He shall seduce with flatteries those who violate the covenant. But the people who know their God shall stand firm and take action. And the wise among the people shall make many understand, though for some days they shall stumble by sword and flame, by captivity and plunder. When they stumble, they shall receive a little help, and many shall join themselves to them with flattery, and some of the wise shall stumble, so that they may be refined, purified, and made white until the time of the end. For it still awaits the appointed time. Now, in this paragraph, it's just kind of like, you could look at it really deeply and say, like, okay, well, the people who cling to the wise, and even the wise shall make them understand, though for some days they shall stumble, by sword, by flame, by captivity, and by plunder. So it's like, it almost seems like there's not war, but there's some sort of a battling that is happening in society, possibly, that they are kind of not doing his bidding, but they're willingly going along because they are deceived, possibly, into thinking they are doing the right thing. And what makes this really sink in for me is that verse 35 where it says, and some of the wise shall stumble. So if I'm taken captive and thrown into some sort of a camp where I am denying the mark, wouldn't that really set into the wise's mind that, wow, I know why this is happening, and this is all part of God's plan. He said this was going to happen. But why would they stumble if they're being held in a camp and suffering? Wouldn't that just make them, their faith just more, where they could even, in the camp, they could all continue on sharing, whether it be allowed or not. But seeing that the wise among the people shall make many understand, though for some days they shall stumble. So, and the wise among the people shall make many understand, though for some days they shall stumble, by sword, by flame, by captivity, and by plunder. So is it the people that the wise made understand are still stumbling? Or is it the wise stumbling with the people? Good question. But what does it say right after the abomination in that first part of 32? He shall seduce with flattery those who violate the covenant. With flatteries, lies, or just, buttering them up and making them, oh, I'm on your side, I'm with you, but deceiving them. Illusion. Delusion. Can't say, but I think that it was just interesting to touch on, and that's all I really want to do, is just kind of put that out there. You can take the information, keep it in your pocket. I might be completely wrong. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm not a scholar. I'm just saying that looking at scripture, pointing to scripture, or sharing scriptures that look like other scriptures in that revelation time, the revealing is the prophets, the revealing of the prophets, of Jesus, bringing Jesus, revealing by prophecy, I guess would be a odd way of putting it all together. So I'm just going to say it like that. I'm not saying that these things are talking on the very exact same thing, but it's interesting to look at Revelation 13 like that, and then to look at this in Daniel after the abomination is, because then, people could say, well, I've heard stories that chapter 11 in Daniel was the time of Alexander the Great, and so that being shown that it had happened shows prophecy, and now you can listen to the rest of it. But when you continue right into chapter 12, it talks about the end times, whether it be after the 1,000-year reign or after the tribulation. I'm not saying I have that information here for you today. I'm not looking at that. I'm just looking at this after the abomination. So just a word to the wise. I'm going to make myself some dinner. You guys have a great weekend. Let me know in the comments if you have anything. God bless.